So here's the thing that you may not be aware of that you need to be aware of. And that is that most people don't want to talk to you forever. Most people don't want to talk to most people forever. And so knowing how to make a good exit, like a nice clean break at the end, is a skill. It's a grace, a thing that people should know how to do. And every conversation that you've ever had has ended, right? Obviously. And we appreciate it when people know how to gracefully exit a conversation and make us feel graceful as well, because we sort of brought things to a close, and we've had a good experience, and now we're parting on really great terms, and we're just left with a really great feeling. And so there's a number of ways to do that are better than, well, nice to meet you, gotta go. Because that's the way that, most people do it, right? Good to meet you. And that works. But there are better ways. And then, it takes a little bit of practice, like anything else in life. You're not born being socially graceful. So just expect that your first couple outings will, maybe not go so great, but it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the better you get. Anyway, so here's some tips, like some strategies for making an exit. You can give an excuse. And here are the rules about excuses for leaving. You can be really specific or you can be really vague, all right? And so an example of a really specific excuse is, oh, hey, my friend Dave is here and I haven't seen him since he moved to Chicago 3 years ago, and I'd really like to catch up with him before the end of our convention today. And so it was very nice to meet you, and I'm going to go talk to Dave. And so they understand that, right? They're like, oh, wow, this guy has like a really elaborate, or maybe not elaborate, but specific excuse for why he's leaving. And, we parted on good terms and good stuff. So you can also use a really vague one, right? You can also say, if you reach a lull in the conversation, we say, all right, excuse me, and then leave. And while that might sound awkward, it's better than, oh, I have gotta go freshen my drink. Or I got a thing. I got to take this call. Because those are all things that people recognize as well-worn excuses. And they'll be like, oh, that guy didn't want to talk to me anymore, and he made up this lame excuse about needing to freshen his drink, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas if you leave it vague, they can read into it they may think you're weird, but they can read into it what they want. And the specific excuses are probably a little better. So another thing that you can do is if you come over and you've introduced, talk to the person, and you started off a conversation about, some new product that they have that they're selling, for example, whatever it was that you started with, you can return to that. And it basically uses that moment to sort of summarize the conversation. So maybe you started out talking about the product, and then you got into, life at their company and how they enjoyed moving to St. Louis, et cetera, et cetera. And so you've gone down kind of a rabbit hole, and that's okay because you learned a lot of things, but you want to bring the conversation to a close. And you may come back to, well, thank you again for telling me about, product X. It was really interesting. I think you guys are going to do great things with it. And then you're done, because you've summarized. And so they know that because you're summarizing, you're probably done talking to them because you don't want to add new things to it. And so they'll let you go. So it's good. Another thing that you can do is emphasize how much you've enjoyed their company. You say, hey, it was so nice to talk to somebody who was also in 4-H as a child. It's just really great to reconnect with you. Or it's so nice to talk to somebody from the East Coast. I feel really alone out here in the Midwest. That was an autobiographical one. Anyway, some other ones you could suggest a future plan, because this is a good one, right? Because if we're making plans to meet in the future, I'm clearly done with you now. So you might be talking to a professor on campus, and I might say, well, great. Well, I look forward to seeing you at Lunch and Learn on Friday at noon, where there's free pizza. FYI, this is a real thing that you can go to. And so now we've got a moment in the future where we're supposed to meet. And so that is a natural cue that our time now is ending because we've made plans to meet up later. Okay. And so that's a good one that you can use. You can summarize and end with appreciation. So again, really nice to meet you. I've enjoyed talking about X. It's been so good that you shared these things with me, et cetera, et cetera. So we kind of talked about that a little bit before. And then finally, this last one here, using subtle verbal cues. You can use this in conjunction with any of these others, or you can use them by yourselves. But basically what they do is they set the person up for the fact that you are about to need to go. And so these are maybe more appropriate when you're, on the bus or, standing around in line someplace. So you might slip in, before we take off, I just, want to tell you about X, Y, and Z, because I am sort of short time in here. Or you may say, since I only have a few minutes left, can you please tell me about X, Y, and Z, so that, again, that they understand that you're about to need to go. And then once they've told you about those things, they understand that that's the moment at which the conversation is going to come to a close. So good. Now for your assignment, now that you are super socially graceful, we'd like for you to give this a shot. And I think I give you, normally these things are due on a Friday, and I give you until the next Friday because I want you to have time to talk to a real stranger. And so this could be somebody on the bus, it could be somebody at the grocery store, it could be a group that you wander into before a class, it could be, at an actual social event, like maybe you're going to an awards banquet or a soiree. Anytime that you have a moment where you find yourself awkwardly standing around with people that you don't know, try to use one of these techniques that we talked about today. Either the R method, or how to make a socially graceful exit, or how to introduce people to one another. And then tell me how it went. Like, come back and I think I say in about 300 words or less, describe the situation, what technique you used, and how it worked out or how it didn't work. So, great. Well, if you'll excuse me, I need to, I got a thing. Yeah, thanks. All right. Later.